All right, we're back, and this is another episode of the Pixie game. Pixitron, Pixi PHP, turn-based, yet unnamed game. Strategy, online. I don't have a lot of time for this video. Unfortunately, I've squandered it doing other chores, but I'm going to do a quick one. We're just going to set up some more tables that I know we're going to need. So we had talked previously about creating some chats. So we're going to create that chats table now. Once again, for our ID, we're going to do an int, unsigned, not null, primary key, auto increment. We're going to have an originator. Okay. All right. And that's going to be an int that points to a user. Not null, unsigned. We're going to have a 2, but we're not going to call it 2 because that's a reserved word. So we're going to call it destination. All right. And again, int, not null, unsigned. We're going to have the message content. This is going to be a medium text. We don't want people to spam. Honestly, a tiny text would probably be okay. Let's make it a tiny text. It's really just for people to chat. We've got a created moment. So when was this initiated? And that's going to have a date, a timestamp. All right. And we're going to have I don't know. I think that's all we need. All right, so thanks Tease Nuts for interrupting with some positivity. I like that. Yeah, we're doing the chats. So this is for players to talk to each other. All right. So now we have that table, and we're going to have to create a model for that. We have one more, and that's message. A message is really not between users, but rather it is messages that are queued by the server to be received by the destination user. So there's only one user, and that's going to be an unsigned int. And then there is the content of that message. And I think I'm going to do a couple of other real quick things too. The context is again a medium text. And we're going to do a code. So the code here means like error code or message hint. So you don't have to unpack it from the content. In the database, we have a created time. All right. And we're going to do an expiry. And we're going to say that the expiry is in it's really a timestamp. So we've got a timestamp there and there. All right, we're good to go. We've got message. So message is queued event. So this may indeed be things that have happened. For instance, destroy this unit. It's been killed, or things like that. So the game, maybe we have a couple of other references. So our game would be one. But we're just going to call it reference. So yeah, we got int there. And we'll add one more, type. So the reference and the type go together. And the type is like the table name. All right. So we'll have to build a model around this. And that really pretty much concludes it, unless we want to do special things. So I was thinking earlier today about how the user does not have, it has metals. I think calling it history or having history is a good thing. Things like wins and losses. So I'm going to add one more here, history. And so one of the other ones might be like number of times they aborted a game, so you know. All right, so we added that one. We're going to also need a like an activation key. And this is because when a user signs in, they're going to have to validate their email. All right, and then we have an activation expires. And that'll just, so we can delete it from the database whenever they don't do what they need to do. Crap. All right. Should be fine. All right. Yeah. Well, at least it didn't crash the whole app. All right, we're good. All right. I don't know if there's really anything else to do here. I think we have everything we need. Yeah. So I just want to get those in. Another thing I wanted to do was get back into this editor. All right. Let me make it more video friendly. And we're going to go into the model for game. Well, first of all, in user, what we're doing here is we're creating a function that's going to allow us to retrieve and increment a history value for a user. I just realized something. A lot of these users, there's only one of them so far. But these things don't have values, and they actually do need them. Looks something like that. All right. So when we create a new user, well, we'll get to that. Hold on. All right. First thing we're doing here is incrementing a value. So we just take that auth database. We've already got the user. We're going to decode the history. We're going to say if is set JSON value, JSON value plus plus, else JSON value equals 1. That's really amount, not 1. My bad. All right, now we're going to just update it. So m update user. Actually, I think we can just use set. And then the value is JSON code. JSON. So now we've got the user's history. If you had a value, it was increased. And I feel like increment history value is kind of long, but that's fine. All right, so we have that helper. Now let's go into game here. All right. We're going to go user increment history value. The name of the value is game created. We're going to increase it by 1. So we have to pass the user in, which we have already. So that's just 1. There's another one. We don't need joined. I guess this would be joined. So we can just keep adding those. Game's aborted if you want to. What's the difference between a message and a notification, you might ask? Why did we create two things? Well, a message is something a little bit different. It has a user associated with it. Let's see here, and so does a notification, but messages are about a game, whereas notifications are about just generally the connection, and messages don't get deleted. Notifications, well, actually, messages expire. Notifications don't expire. No, they do. Not really sure what the difference is there, except that I think, like I said, I'll use messages for game-related events. So you could call it game event or something like that. Whereas a notification is more like server level, account level. I guess it's really the same thing, but if you keep them separate, you can optimize them differently, I guess. Maybe I'll get rid of one. I don't know. I feel like you need both. Maybe. Then there's chat, which is like literally messaging each other. So let's do chat. It's not very complicated. So, again, creating a new model. Class chat extends model. Static function. Chat, or to, let's call it to. User, recipient, content. All right. So we have to protect the content. So I have this function called B64K encode, which is adequate for doing this. You could do this a couple of other ways, but B64K encode is made special. So the first thing we're going to do is get the global database. Then we're going to create the model. Then we're going to insert. Originator is user. Destination is user. Now, this is interesting. So actually, I'm going to modify. There's destination, but there needs to be a type. So let's insert a which would be type. So what does the type mean? Well, the type is going to be an int, just to save a little bit of database space, and the type will either be 0 user or 1 game lobby / lobby. So if the game is started, it's to the game. Now, obviously, you're not going to let the user pick that. All right. So yeah. All right. Since there are so few types, maybe I'll change that other one, the reference. Let's go here. I'm not really sure if we need this entire table, to be honest, but reference type needs to be an int. So the type would be well, maybe we want to leave that open-ended. Let's leave that open-ended for now. All right. We'll get back to message. I don't know. All right. Chat. Okay. So 2 implies that you're, excuse me, that you're sending something to a lobby or to a person. All right. And then created would be string to time now, or this, yeah, string to time now, and then content is B64K to code. Now you could put markdown in there or something. So there may be additional modification there, so I am going to leave it out in its own variable. So you have to kind of figure out what is okay and what is not okay to allow them a little bit of validation in there. But by doing B64K encode, I know that they cannot do any injection, SQL injection. And that'll be fine. I noticed that there's really no expiry on these chats, so maybe we want to, well, there's a created date. So say is going to be for a lobby. Now you can imagine that you're going to have some sort of way to silence, but you can kick people out of a lobby, so you don't really need to silence them. And it's basically the same code with the type just being 1. Okay. So it'll be up to all clients to check the lobby's messages. And the remove stale function will be called by the server's cron job or something like that to occasionally remove messages that are older than, say, I don't know, 5 minutes. Maybe even less than that. Maybe just like 30 or a minute. Minute sounds good. So that would be m delete, where created is less than, and then string to time now minus, or I think you can just do 5 minutes ago. Right in there. Let's find out. Let's go to the web real quick, and we're gonna do PHP fiddle, and we're just gonna do what code space. All right. Echo string to time 5 minutes ago. On the space. I think it's like minus 5 minutes, but let's find out. Wow. Brain is fried. Run. Let's make this a little bigger. All right. Huh. I don't think this works anymore. Well, that's some strange stuff. That used to work. Let's see, there's another one. PHP tester. That's fine. That's actually 5 minutes ago. Maybe it's not printing anything because that doesn't work. Could be. We're actually doing this in 7.1, but anyway. Right, so let's do that again. Yeah, so that's fine. Okay. So we want to really make it 1 minute ago. Let's make sure that works. What if I said 1 minute ago? Yeah, so phptester.net, a lot of ads, but you got to pay the bills somehow. That works. All right, so we're going to call this periodically. I guess, yeah, I don't know. All right, so once a minute it'll run this. It should be fine. Notification. We need to remove, so expired really is that. How about I think you do plus 1 minute. Let's see. Yeah, so instead of doing it this way, we're going to do so it's actually 5 minutes. I don't even think it needs to be that long. I think this is probably good enough, but whatever. Now so we should probably start setting up our cron job. So in automation, we're going to create one called cron job. And first of all, we're going to go if PHP SAPI does not equal CLI. Got to do the equals die. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and instantiate some models by including core page, or see core automation. I think core page works, and then we're going to do m equals new notification database. We have to do a global database here, and we're going to do m expired, and then global or m equals new message database, because we're going to have to do this for message eventually. Remove stale, m equals new session database, expired, and then we're going to have to do this for chat. We're not going to install this cron job yet. There's other ways to do this. You can do this with events in the database itself, but I've said that before. I don't really do that. You could do that. Stale. So we're calling these specialty maintenance tasks. And really, if we wanted to, we could create some sort of an overridable function or a virtual function or whatever it is in PHP, a magic method, whatever, that allows you to, that is all called the same thing, so maintenance or something like that. But we wrote it this way, and there it is. So because chat and message are pretty similar, let's go into session here. Let's just, this is a refresh. Yeah. So right now it's a 30-minute session timeout. That's okay. I could put all of these different time values in global defines, but it's fine. There's not going to be that, again, not going to be that big of a back end. Almost all of the fun stuff is going to happen in the client. Honestly, aside from the game aspect, most of this is a write once and leave it. The game aspect, we're going to have to go in there and look at the way that works. But I want to put up here define session timeout. I actually have to put this. You're supposed to do this now, and then we'll say now plus, I don't know, let's say 10 minutes. If your client hasn't been connected for 10 minutes, then it's probably over. And then in here I can write session timeout. You don't even have to write now, but it does say that. So, all right, that looks pretty good. Now let's see. What do we call it? Well, static public function expired. And now we're just gonna do our fun stuff. that should cover it. Yeah. So we haven't done message yet. So we're just going to copy chat to message. And for right now, we're going to leave it real simple. We do have to change a couple of things. So the recipient is our user and not destination. So we know that a game lobby does not receive this. The originator is not that. It's actually reference. And then there's the type. So reference ID, really. So that's fine. And then who it's going to, created time. I guess this one allows you to have different expiries. We'll put that over here. And you don't have to order it in the same way that you do the database. So you can pass in the expiry time. So that's one nuance. And that's fine. Now we are doing a B64 and K encode. I believe I have this same function in JavaScript, but if not, I will look it up. It's basically B64 encode with a special string replace. And then type is actually type. And actually, we took care of that already. So that should cover the insertion. There is no say, because it's all in there. And it's not called chat, it's called message. All right, and that should do it. It's not created. Its expiry is less than now. And we don't have to do that. We don't have to do that. And it looks like there's actually a typo in chat. But we also want to change something else about chat. Define chat expiry as 1 minute ago, or chat staleness. Right, so little typo there fixed. Let's call it 2 minutes ago. Why not? There's a couple of other things. One would be delete. So let's call that all right. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to grab the message that was already there, and this is going to delete it from the database in advance of expiry. So essentially what this is going to do is when you've received the chat message, the client can then say, I got it. And at that point, it gives you the chat ID and it'll delete that message. The client can hold on to messages, store them, log them, whatever it wants to do. But the server doesn't want to hold on to this data for very long. So it's going to allow them to tell you, I've got it, and then they can delete it. And in fact, I may have it send them, it's going to send them a package of multiple chats, whatever is remaining, and then you can send back a list of numbers, and it'll run this on every single one. Or maybe it'll run on a special query, maybe I'll write another query, but for now it's just going to run it on every single one. So delete, I think I can do this, but I can only do this, again, if destination equals user ID. So if you were the intended recipient, you can delete it. It was, again, up to the client to hold on to the value of destination, or of their sent chat message, and place it into a text box or something. It was up to the client to do that. So this is just the server. So it's only going to do this if that's the case. Now we still have to put in a little bit of spam protection, and we're still going to need to do the validation for creation of new users, but we've done some preparation for that. Working towards that. There's a couple of different ways to handle it. I haven't quite decided yet. I may eventually decide just to do it the most direct way, but we'll see what happens. Make sure we don't have any other typos. I feel like this could go there. I feel like this could go there. All right. Now I'm feeling pretty good about this. I think this is close. So this same received needs to happen for a couple of other ones too. So one is notification. You only need to receive it once. All right. And so in this case, it's our user. All right. And it's really note ID. So that should dump the notification if we say we received it. Haven't created the action yet. It's going to be a lot of action creation in the future. For now, so whenever we create these expiries, we're actually creating a situation where we're not guaranteeing that they get received. So I'm actually going to go back to message, and I'm going to make a special case where if expiry does not equal 0, and again, it's this one. So while we're doing that, now I can create a message that completely deletes only when the expiry has. So you can make an unexpirable message that can only be deleted when you receive, when you acknowledge receipt. So here we have received user chat ID. We need to change this to our user, and we need to call this message ID. All right, and so that will allow us to, again, let it know we got this. We got this message. So you can imagine that I'm talking to somebody, they disconnect, and this happens in Steam, for instance. I'm talking to somebody, they disconnect, and it says they'll receive this message afterwards. Well, what that is, I mean, we could do that. We could totally do that. It would, the server would receive a chat request. It would determine if the user's logged in. If the user's not logged in or the session is invalid, it's going to go and it's going to place it instead in this message queue. The problem with that, I mean, we're not going to do that, but it's definitely possible to do that. So when the session expires, you would have to do things with that. You would have to check, oh, did messages come in since the user last used it? Oh, no, they didn't. Okay, then don't worry about it. But if they did, we have to then take those chats and convert them into messages. Yada, yada, yada. I think message also needs some JSON content. So maybe it's a good idea if we JSON encode or JSON decode. I haven't decided on that yet, but maybe. How about this? How about we add that so we can have optional JSON. So then to do that, I need to go back to message, edit it, add JSON. We'll call this long text, not null. Apply. Great, so now we can store a little JSON along with that message. So reference and type are the originator. You can store data in a JSON array. You've got just regular textual content. Nice. This is a better messaging system. So each one's going to have its values and its weaknesses. I think we have enough now. I do want to, I want to look at the way, well, let's validate firstly. Let's make sure that all this code, let's see. So line 24, JSON encode JSON. What's wrong with that? Oh, I need that thing. Okay, fair enough. We're good there. We're good there. We're good there. All right. Let's see. We have everything we need. Just double check something. All right, custom expiries. Now, we haven't put the logic in yet, but we kind of have a plan. We know that there's going to be the game. There's going to be settings for the game, so we need to create maybe. So if I go to user real quick, and I go down to increment history value, you know, it'd be also cool is if I took that and I used that to create the game's settings value. So what we do is we go in here. All right. We go set game setting. So now we have all of that. So now, let's see. Well, so if int val game initiator does not equal int val user ID, return false, otherwise return true. So it doesn't validate what the setting is, but the user is not going to directly set the setting. So there's going to be an action. It results in a setting change. It can't be direct. Can't be direct content. Anytime you have content from a user, it has to be validated, checked, double-checked, squished, squashed, filtered, put through a sieve. It's all that. But when you have a trigger or a button that a client can press, you don't worry about it quite as much. Again, these things, like, we have to do a spam filtration. I mean, the server will stop somebody from like hitting it too many times, but we have to have memory of that, ban accounts automatically, stuff like that. So there's a little bit of protection that has to be in place coming up. Yeah. Which reminds me, we need to actually kind of add a flag to the user that says banned, and we'll do that next time, hopefully. If not, we'll do it someday soon. All right, initiator, settings ID. Looks good to me. Let's double check. Yeah, this needs to be game. This needs to be database. Although they are the same. All right, so yeah, that's pretty cool. Still got to write a bort for a bort game. We're gonna have to do a lot in game, but let's not do that right now. We've gotten some progress today. I'm gonna call it. Thanks so much for watching. This is Retrofriends. You're watching the end of the day. You're watching the Pixitron demo series where we code a game online from scratch, similar to other things like Handmade Hero. This is video number 9, and we are working our way towards the client. In the past, we've been working mainly on the back end, but we're going to start going back and forward very soon now. Thanks for watching. Please tune in, like us, subscribe to us, hit the bell so you're notified whenever new videos are uploaded. Tell your friends, and if you're feeling generous, $1 a month on our Patreon could help a lot. I appreciate your time. I hope you're learning a lot, and I wish you luck. Take care and stay friendly.